We started this morning with Bible study, as is our custom, and the section from John's Gospel was a very appropriate passage to be discussing on the day where we talked about interfaith relations, the whole notion of Jesus as the door, and how do we relate to that scripture in a pluralistic society. So it led to some very interesting discussions in Daba groups where we heard a lot about each other's contexts. And I know we were really struck with the different responses from Christians who live in a context where they are minority faith, from those of us who live in places where Christianity is still a majority. So, and
we saw some video presentations from various bishops around the world, and I was struck by the fact, for instance, that in Pakistan, if you're a Muslim that converts to Christianity, that can cost you your life. So the whole issue of interfaith relations for some of our brothers and sisters around the world is a much more intense subject than it is for us in the United States. We do a lot of interfaith things, but it tends to be a kind of a nice, pleasant get-together on cooperation and civic projects and things like that. Whereas for them, it really can be a life or death issue.
Right. Then this afternoon, we had a plenary discussion for the third section of the Windsor report, Windsor process. And I have to say, I can't be too articulate on it because it was just given to us and we just heard it, so we have not had a chance to discuss it. But I would say that the hearing went very well. We heard from people all around the communion of various viewpoints on the process as it is put forward right now. And, it is a process. We're talking about it, and we're going to have a lot more discussion about it, both in plenary but also informally and in our Ndaba groups. So we're still at the beginning of that process.
I would agree with Catherine in that we have a lot of work to do. We're going to be discussing this tomorrow in our province meeting in the American Church, and then I'm sure that it will be the topic of conversation at most meal times and informal get-togethers in the next several days, and then the most formal time for discussing it will come next Saturday, when I believe we have 2 Ndaba sessions on this. I may be wrong about this, but I think we have 2 Ndaba sessions about it. So it will be a lot of attention will be paid to this document that we just had. We, as Catherine says, we really haven't had a chance to digest it. I, speaking personally, would have liked to have seen something initially a little more positive and less punitive than this particular document is. Our time together here has given me wonderful feelings about the communion, strengthened friendships that I've had with people all around the world, and I'd like to see us now build on that and come up with a common statement of which we are affirming in a positive way what we stand for, and less emphasis on if you don't accept certain things, then, well, you really can't be part of the group. And I hope that will emerge in the days that come.
I was really struck early on in our Ndabas when we were covering a whole lot of topics and putting a great deal of newsprint on the wall, which marks us as Anglicans, I think, how much we agree with each other and how much we hold in common. And I think it would be wonderful if we had a chance to allow what we have in common to really help us develop a covenant or a process of our moving forward together, rather than always focusing on the difficulties. We have so much to commend us, really. We have such wonderful relationships across the communion, and those have been nurtured and are growing. And I think one of the things we can say about Lambeth in 1998, I think it really invited the communion as a whole to take gay and lesbian Christians seriously, and it invited the developed world in particular to take the developing world seriously. So that at this conference, unlike the last one, there are gay and lesbian LGBT groups at the marketplace. There were Gay and lesbian Christians had no voice anywhere last time. And I can also say, at least for the Episcopal Church, that we come to this conference with many, many, many more relationships in Africa, in Asia, in Central and South America. Those are deeply enriching relationships, and I think that's what's going to carry us through.
I attended the reception for Gene Robinson a few days ago, and what was very impressive to me was the number of bishops from countries that I know have a problem with his consecration were at least willing to come and meet him, and went away saying, you know, he doesn't have horns. He's a great guy. We may not agree with him or what the church has done, but it really was a chance for some bridge building, and that was very important for me to see.